Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 616. Our topic is mindset, and the title is Excuses Don't Eliminate Consequences. So, what we're going to look at here today, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. We're going to talk through the story, and then hopefully we can learn a lesson from the story. So I had a client who, this is years and years and years ago, and I'm trying to remember. I think it was like before. It was around the time I opened the gym. So I've had the gym for 9 years, and I believe this client was probably in the first year or two of owning the gym. And the client was well overweight, like 250 plus pounds overweight. They had bad blood markers, diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, everything. And they were wanting to do gastric bypass surgery to help them lose weight, but they were actually too overweight to get the gastric bypass surgery. So they needed help dieting down to the weight that a doctor had given them. So that way they could, due to safety for the surgery, it was probably too much of a risk factor for their health. So the doctor required them to lose weight. So they were a friend of a friend, and my friend got them in touch with me. And the client had said that nothing they had tried had worked. And the problem was, with further discussion and as we talked through everything they had tried, they couldn't sustain what efforts they were doing long enough for them to be useful. And what they were doing was too extreme and harmful to their actual metabolism. So every time they tried their crazy, stupid stuff that never works, it kept making it harder and harder for them to lose weight doing it the right way. And they felt defeated. They kept feeling their weight going up and down, and in their mind, they had tried everything. The problem was everything they were trying was completely insane. And it was all the stuff that I tell everybody here. If you've listened to our podcast before, you'll hear me just talk about everything that I can't stand about starvation-based diets and extreme calorie restrictions and all that crazy stuff. So this person had tried everything. So, starvation diet, tons of cardio, hours and hours of cardio a day. Even though they were super overweight, they still went and got on a bike, elliptical, still found ways to get up and move around. But everything they were doing was stuff that killed their metabolism. So they were eating way too little, doing way too much activity. So their body started to continue to, it adapted by, trying to lower its metabolism. It says, okay, if you're only going to eat 1,000 calories a day and do all these hours of activity, we have to find out how to burn less and less calories. Sorry. We have to burn less and less calories so we can find a way to survive this. The body will give you body fat as energy, and it understands the process of us burning body fat off, in the sense that it can't stop that from happening, but it can adjust to it happening so that fat loss actually happens less and less and less. Meaning, when you first do an extreme caloric restriction and then you do a bunch of activity, the body goes, oh crap, I have to fuel this. So it just starts dumping body fat. But then it says, man, if we keep giving away body fat like this, we're not going to survive. So body fat is a protective mechanism, meaning our body stored body fat to protect us against times where we don't have food. So it's kind of a learned ability by the body, and it perceives it as necessary for survival. So if you're dumping off fat at an extremely fast rate, the body starts countering that process. It'll bring down its resting metabolic rate, so how many calories it burns at rest. It'll reduce that by reducing a bunch of processes in the body. So it'll stop putting as much caloric effort towards things it doesn't deem essential. So growing nails, repairing skin, growing hair, all these other things. So the reason why I mention those is those are some of the first signs you'll see of calorie restriction. Is nails will become, they'll stop growing as well. They'll become thin and brittle. Hair becomes thin and brittle. Our skin becomes very scaly and dried. And those are the outside effects that you see. Imagine what's happening on the inside. So I work with people with eating disorders, and you'll see all these external effects. And it's scary to then know what is happening on the internal. So they were trying that. They were trying these crazy restrictions and all this stuff that essentially just kind of shot themselves in the foot. So their metabolism, maybe their basal metabolic rate, like how many calories they burned at rest, maybe before they tried the craziest thing they ever tried, let's just say it was, 2,000 calories. I'm just making up a number. So they tried a bunch of crazy stuff. The body had to try to adjust to it, and now all of a sudden it lowered its metabolic rate of the day just by trying to adjust to the crazy stuff, and now it's only 1,800. So then when they went back to eating 2,000, they started getting overweight again. So then they freak out. They try another crazy thing. The body responds by reducing its metabolism again, now down to 1,600. So then when they go back to 2,000, they go, oh my God, I'm gaining so much weight. Let me reduce to 1,800. And they go, oh crap, I'm still gaining weight now. Then they find they have to go back down to 1,600. So their process of yo-yoing back and forth, where they would try something, it was not sustainable, it was not lifelong, it was too extreme. So then they would break away from it and try to go back to where they were. But where they were is now worse. They actually will get fat from what they used to be able to maintain at. This is important for us to know because the more we do these extreme, crazy, stupid things that we think are quick fixes or easy ways out, we're actually making it worse and worse and worse for when we finally do the real thing. So I've had tons and tons of clients. One client example, they asked me to help them lose weight. I asked them what they were eating, look at their activity level, like they were doing 3 hours of cardio in the gym every day. And I looked at them and I said, you're not in a healthy enough state that I can even help you now. I said, your body's too stressed out, it's too worn out, there's nothing I can even do with you, it's a broke system. So, if you take a month off from the gym, if you don't do any cardio for a month, then I want you to go back to eating this. And I gave them kind of like a normalish style diet. I said, you may gain some pounds. Yes, and that's going to freak the person out. So you may gain some pounds, but we need to rebuild you. We need to let your body recover. And then we can actually go through the process of getting the weight back off. So that person actually stayed out of the gym for a month, as best of my knowledge. And whenever they came back, we started working again and we were able to get them moving. And we got more weight off them than they had ever gotten before, doing what felt like less effort. They weren't doing 3 hours of cardio in the gym. They weren't even doing 1 hour of cardio a day. We were eating right. We were lifting with weights to fuel fat loss, not to tear the body apart. So sometimes people's bodies get so unhealthy that they actually need to do TLC. They need to give their body some love before they can ever get anything off the body. So going back to this client, extremely overweight. Everything they tried, they said didn't work. Nothing worked for them. The reason why their friend reached out to me was because my friend knows I can be a jerk when I need to be. And I very much care about people in the sense of wanting to help them. I care so much that I'm willing to tell them they're freaking morons and yell at them when they're not doing something they should do. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for traumatizing me, probably for being very capable of what's called tough love. So I do care enough about somebody that I can tell them they're an idiot and show them why they're an idiot, but then help them to not become an idiot. But I care about them enough not to hide that from them. If they are their own problem, I will tell them. And my friend knew that. And this person, this client, they were their own problem. They wanted everything short and fast just to get to the surgery. Okay, they wouldn't stay with everything. They made excuses for everything. There was always a reason from someone or something else. There was always a reason why they didn't do what they were supposed to do. It was never for their fault. It was always just these bullshit excuses and these stupid quick fix type efforts. And my friend cared about this client and wanted them to live. Okay, this client had very young kids. And we talked about this. And when I talked to the client, we finally got everything started. He said to me, I can't fail at this. I have young kids I want to see grow old. So we agreed that I would play whatever role was necessary in order to make sure they were successful. Sometimes it got to be the nice supporting role. I got to be a teacher, got to be a cheerleader, all the happy stuff. But sometimes I had to be a complete jerk. And I had to tell them kind of what the real thing was, what's really happening right here. And what we kind of talked about how we formatted this was one of the roles that I had agreed to play was to be the voice of his body. I would say for his body what his body couldn't say for itself. Okay? So, that's what I want to talk about today, is what we're really going to get into in this podcast, is that excuses don't eliminate consequences. Now, let's talk through this. Being the voice of his body, if he were to skip a workout, his body would not have burned the calories and the body fat that would have been associated with doing the workout. His body would not have created the muscle damage, okay, that the workout would have created, which would have further helped us lose body fat, and it would have helped us kind of process blood markers, like lower cholesterol, lower blood pressure, all that good stuff, okay? And his body didn't get any stronger. We didn't get to build new muscle. We didn't get to build any strength. We didn't get to protect the joints. We didn't get to test and energize and strengthen the muscles of the heart, the lungs. None of that stuff got done. If he didn't do the workout, he didn't get any of the results that a workout would have given him. Now, he may have had a reason for why he missed the workout. But regardless of the reason for the missed workout, his body would not have made any of those changes. It would have not burned body fat. It would have not had muscle damage. It would have not have built strength. It would have not improved his cardiovascular health. Nothing in his body would have changed, regardless of what the excuse for the missed workout was. So, that's what his body needed to tell him. Did it matter why he missed the workout? No. The body would not have been able to adjust to any stimulus because there wasn't a stimulus provided. The body would have had the same response no matter what the reason was. If you don't do a workout, you don't get the results of a workout. That's the way it works. Okay? So when he would give an excuse, I would answer, your body doesn't care. Your body doesn't care. Your body doesn't care. No one, nothing at all gives a shit. If you miss it, you miss it. You don't get anything for missing it, regardless of why you miss it. Your body doesn't care. Now, if he had an excuse, if he had a reason why he missed the workout, of course we'd want to know what that reason was. It's good to have being aware of what the reason is, because then you can address the reason to make sure it never gets in the way again. Okay? So I helped identify how to address the reason, address the excuse. But there was no sense of forgiveness given to him by his body. No sense of the missed workout being okay. And there was no way to make up for it. It was missed. The opportunity for him to improve his health was missed. The body didn't care what the excuse was. We cared because it helped us to identify what needed changed and how to make sure his workouts could be more consistent. But that individual singular moment, was it okay that he missed that workout? Hell no. He missed a step that would have allowed him to live longer, live healthier, to be around for his kids more. Because he missed that step, he lived longer unhealthy. He lived longer with a stressed body, and he will be shorter in time with his kids on earth. Now, this is going to sound really aggressive. Some people aren't going to like this much pressure being put on them. So if this isn't for you, that's okay. But what I do want to get across is if you do miss things, you can't make that a regular habit. If you miss things, you don't get things. If you don't do workouts, you don't get any of the results for the workouts. Okay? If you miss the opportunity, you don't get any results from the opportunity. So skipped meals, extra meals, overeaten meals where you eat too much. Does the excuse for those things matter? No. Knowing why helps so you can address it. But knowing why doesn't excuse the consequences of it. If you skip a meal, your body will have a negative impact, a negative response. If you have extra food, whether it's extra meals or overeating at a meal, your body will have a negative impact. The excuse for those things doesn't matter in the sense that it doesn't excuse you from the consequences of the action. Okay? So again, excuses don't eliminate consequences. So when I would talk and they'd mess something up, okay, I missed a workout, or I don't know, I kind of messed up that meal, and I would say, it'd probably be fun to be around for, your daughter's graduation. It'd probably be a nice moment in your life. Don't you really want to see that? Now, that's pretty damn passive aggressive, and it's harsh. But this person asked for it, and they actually, I'll spoil the ending here. They actually did really well, so they were able to get the surgery, and they're living healthier now. They're still somewhat overweight, but they're eating healthy, and their blood work is good. So this did work. And for this person, he had tried a million things before, and he had always made up excuses. He had always blamed it on someone or something else, and he never really kind of recognized the consequences of his actions or his inactions. So he needed someone to give this voice to him. Some people are this voice 24/7 in their own heads. They will rip themselves apart for every mistake they make. Therefore, their response, their type of coaching, guidance, might be more so leniency, saying, hey, yeah, you messed this up. It's okay. Let's figure out why. Let's address it, and let's try not to do it again. But typically the people that beat themselves up for it don't do it repeatedly. They'll mess up once. They'll go a while doing really well. They'll mess up again and say, crap, I already know this. We talk through it and we keep moving. But people who mess up over and over and over again, even if you have that voice in your head saying, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you messing this up? Apparently that voice isn't significant enough. And I'm not saying you need to fuel things through hatred. I did that the very first, I don't even know how many years. Probably the first 6, 8, 10 years of my fitness journey. It was fueled through self-hate. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I was. And I wanted to punish my body and myself into becoming something better through exercise. Now, it got me a lot of results, but it wasn't a healthy mindset. It wasn't a happy way to live. So I'm not saying push yourself through negativity, push yourself through hatred. But I am saying you need to be aware that why you don't do things doesn't matter, in the sense that it doesn't excuse you from the consequences of not doing those things. So if he missed meals, if he missed workouts, if he didn't do what he was supposed to do to take care of his health, he was still going to miss graduations, birthdays, weddings. He was going to miss his children's events. His kids would go to those events with him dead and passed away, crying and thinking of him every time. Now, again, this is very emotional, very hard to hear. But he needed to know that the excuses were just ways to identify how to correct behavior. But the correcting of the behavior still needed to happen. How many of us, myself included, do we just stop at our excuses? I missed the workout today because I was too busy. Well, what the hell did you do to get unbusy so you don't miss the workout tomorrow? I missed my food today because I was too busy. What the hell did you do today to address being too busy tomorrow? No one follows through with that. You can't stop at your excuses. Your excuses don't protect you from the consequences. If you deem yourself too busy to eat, you will have all of the negative impact of not eating, regardless of why you were busy. Okay? You could be helping orphans build a new church that had just burned down. It doesn't even matter what the reason is. You will still have consequences. Okay? Now, are there times when we are going to mess things up? Are there times when we prioritize taking care of someone else's needs above our own? Yes, that does happen. But how often is that happening to you? If it's happening every week, multiple times a week, if it's happening 5 days a week, which happens to be the 5 days you go to work, you're just too busy to eat, you're too busy for this, too busy for that, too super duper uber important to stop for 5 freaking minutes to eat something, to put something in your face. Guess what? You will have all of the consequences of that improper eating, no matter what you were too busy for. Okay? You do not save yourself from the consequences of bad actions or inactions due to whatever the excuse was for that action and inaction. Every action, every inaction has a consequence, regardless of the excuse. So, what excuses do you use for what you don't do? Does having the excuse allow you to feel like it's okay that you didn't do what was needed to be done? Does that sense of feeling okay or excused for the work allow you to believe you won't suffer those consequences? Oh, it's okay I didn't do it because of this. It is not okay. You didn't do it. You won't get anything for work that isn't done. If you didn't do it, you don't get it. If you didn't do it, you don't avoid it. If you didn't do it, you get exactly the results of not doing it, regardless of why you didn't do it. If you have an excuse, that means you know what the obstacle is. Take the next step. Work on it, address it, correct it, remove it, work around it, whatever you've got to do. Don't stop at your excuses, because you will still suffer the consequences. Find a way to let that excuse be the first and only time you use that excuse. Work equals results, not excuses. Only work works. Only work leads to change. Only work leads to results. Only work works, not excuses. Okay, so I encourage you that if you have an excuse for why you're not doing what you want to be doing in your life, don't stop at the excuse. You're aware of what's in your way. Find a way to address it. Okay? Now, if you need help for any of that stuff, we're always happy to help. You can email us at brutalironggym@gmail.com, whatever it is. Even if it's not fitness related, if it's anything at all, let us know. We're a listening ear, and we can reach out to people that we know and find an answer for you. Whatever you are struggling with, whatever is being a reoccurring excuse for you, recognize that when you're using that excuse, you're not getting any results. When you're using that excuse, you're not getting any protection from the consequences. So reach out to us and let us help you. Let us use that excuse as an identification of what we need to work on, and we'll talk about how to work on it. Okay? So, like I said, this client was actually successful. I'm happy for them. They got a clean bill of health from the doctor. They're still going to have the consequences of the years that they spent being overweight, but they're now in control and they're now fixing those things. They now have a better sense of control over their life and excitement into their future and being there for their kids. So it can be done. So if you've lived years going yo-yo, up and down, up and down, up and down, with excuses, there you can break that cycle. You can make a change. You can still be successful. Okay? So email us at brutalironggym@gmail.com. We will always be happy to help, always happy to listen, always happy to be there for you. Okay? Now, if you think the podcast would be helpful to anybody you know, family and friends, please share it. You can share it on social media. You can share it through an email, a text, however you want to do it. Okay? Just the more people we get listening to happy, healthy messages, the happier and healthier the world will live. And if you like this type of information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalironggym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.